All right, coaches. So let's get real for a second. You spend all your time, pushing your athletes to reach peak performance. But how often do you kind of apply that same intensity to your own well-being? So today we are diving deep into something that might actually surprise you, coach self-care. And
Oh,
no, we were not talking about like bath bombs and scented candles, though, hey, no judgment if that's your thing.
mm,
This is about really understanding why. Taking care of yourself
mm.
is mission critical for actually leading your team to success.
And we're going straight to the source with this one. We've got Dr. Vanessa Thiele. She's a sports psychologist, and she works with the Australian Institute of Sport.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these are the folks who train Olympic athletes, so they know a thing or two about high performance.
For sure.
Yeah, we've got excerpts from one of her articles.
She does not hold back. She really doesn't.
Mhm.
She calls out how the coaching world often sees self-care as
Yes.
soft, even like a distraction. It's that old school mentality of,
Yeah.
push through the pain, ignore the burnout. But
Yeah.
what if I told you that? That's totally outdated. What if I told you that? Prioritizing your well-being is actually the key to unlocking a whole new level of performance, both for you and your athletes.
And what's so fascinating here is that she backs this up with science. Dr. Thiele really emphasizes that. Real self-care. It isn't just about pampering yourself. It's about actively supporting your mental, physical, and emotional health.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing what you need to function at your best as a coach and as a human.
That's going to look different for everyone,
Right.
right? She gives some examples in this article that I think coaches can relate to, like taking a walk to clear your head during a chaotic practice, or making time for a phone call with a friend after a tough loss, or even something as simple as like delegating a task so you can spend a few extra hours with your family.
Exactly. And these aren't just like feel-good activities. Dr. Thiele really dives into the neurochemistry behind this. You're not just like feeling better. You're actually changing your brain chemistry in a way that directly impacts your coaching.
Okay, wait, hold up. Neurochemistry. This is where it gets really interesting for me. Tell me more.
Okay, so think about it this way. When you're stressed, your brain gets flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, right? That fight or flight response button.
Yeah.
When you engage in self-care, even in small ways, it helps reduce those stress hormones. And here's the kicker. You're actually replacing them with performance-enhancing neurochemicals like dopamine and serotonin.
So by taking care of yourself, you're basically boosting your brain's performance field. This is blowing my mind.
It's true. And think about what those neurochemicals do. They improve focused thinking, problem solving. Imagine having those benefits at your fingertips, especially during those high-pressure games or training
What are
sessions.
you talking about? Making split-second decisions, staying calm under pressure. Those are game changers.
Absolutely. And this ties into something that Dr. Thiele calls out in her article, resilience.
Okay.
It's that ability to handle pressure without burning out, to bounce back from setbacks, and, stay focused when the stakes are high.
Which, let's be honest, that's something that every coach needs, right? Especially in those high-pressure environments. But here's where things get really interesting. This whole idea of pushing through, it actually feeds into a myth that Dr. Thiele tackles in this article. Burnout is a badge of honor, that I can handle anything, sleep is for the weak mentality.
Yeah, it's practically a rite of passage in the coaching world, right?
Totally.
But Dr. Thiele really argues that it's the opposite of tough.
Interesting.
Ignoring those early warning signs of stress, neglecting your own well-being, it's so detrimental. And not just to you, to your entire team.
Yeah. How many of you listening have pushed yourselves to exhaustion, thinking that's what a good coach does? I know I'm guilty of it too, but what if we're actually doing more harm than good? Dr. Thiele argues that rest and recovery, they aren't luxuries. They're necessities for peak performance. It's about recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly. And that brings us to the next myth that she debunks, the whole superhuman facade, this idea that we have to be invincible, always on, never showing any vulnerability.
Oh, I know this one well.
Yeah.
It's we're expected to have all the answers, handle every crisis, never let the pressure get to us.
Right.
But let's be real, that's not humanly possible, is it?
Not at all. We're all human. And I think Dr. Thiele really reminds us that it's okay to not be okay, to acknowledge when we're feeling the mental and emotional toll that this job inevitably takes. In fact, she says that seeking support when we need it, whether that's talking to a mentor, a colleague, a therapist, that's not a weakness. It's a sign of strength. And self-awareness.
It's about being honest with ourselves about our limits and recognizing that asking for help, it isn't a failure. It's often the smartest play that we can make.
And that leads us back to where we started, right? To that initial resistance to self-care. That self-care is soft. Dr. Thiele challenges us to flip the script on this one completely.
Yeah.
You know, she even says in the article, and this is one of my favorite quotes, make self-care a daily priority, keeping you in the optimal performance zone.
I love that.
It's not selfish, it's strategic.
Right.
It's about recognizing that taking care of yourself enables you to show up as the best coach you can be for your athletes and for yourself.
But like we're the coaches of our own performance, right?
Yeah.
We need a game plan for ourselves if we're going to lead effectively.
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't expect an athlete to perform at their peak without proper recovery, we can't expect that of ourselves either.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into coach self-care, I think the message from Dr. Thiele is pretty clear, right?
It's not selfish, it's essential. Prioritizing your well-being, mentally, physically, emotionally. It isn't about indulgence. It's about unlocking a whole new level of performance for you and for the athletes that you guide.
It's about recognizing that. To coach at your best, to build that culture of success that lasts, you need to invest in yourself just as much as you invest in your team.
Here's something to think about. You know Olympic athletes. With their regimented schedules and their tailored training plans, even they need structured self-care. So what does that tell us about how important it is for coaches to prioritize their own well-being?
Powerful stuff. So coaches, as you head into your week, we have a challenge for you. What's one small action inspired by today's deep dive that you can take for your own well-being? Maybe it's that walk in nature. Maybe it's a call to a supportive friend. Or maybe it's simply saying no to taking on one more thing. Remember, taking care of yourself is an investment in your own high performance and the success of your entire team. Until next time, keep diving deep.